chapter 107 to 108. Belmod fell heavily onto the audience stands of the 11th universe. "Belmod-sama, are you all right?" Topo hurried forward to check, but Belmod pushed him away. Then Belmod turned and lowered his head, his eyes filled with fury. "Honey, let me help you heal," Angel Margarita said as she gently waved her staff. The injuries on Belmod disappeared instantly, but the psychological blow he suffered would never heal. To be so humiliated by a mortal in front of the gods was an absolute shame and humiliation for him. "Belmod-sama," Topo called again tentatively. Although he could feel Belmod's anger, he didn't know how to comfort him. "Topo, let Belmod-sama calm down for a while," Angel Margarita reminded Topo. To be defeated by a mortal in such a humiliating way was obviously very unacceptable for the always proud Belmod. He needed to calm down to untie the knot in his heart. "All right," Topo nodded and turned his gaze back to the ring, locking on to Goten. He had come this time not only to meet Zeno, but also to compete with other participants from the universes. But now it seemed there was no need. The strength of Goten from the 7th universe was too overwhelming. Even if he challenged him now, it would only be asking for a beating and embarrassing himself. In the ring, with the elimination of Belmod's group of 5 gods, the remaining 5 gods began to panic. Goten had dealt with 5 gods in a short time, meaning he could easily eliminate them as well. This was just crazy. A mortal whose strength had completely surpassed them, Hakaishin, made them feel utterly defeated. Perhaps due to the panic, the remaining gods couldn't exert their full strength. When Beerus used Ultra Instinct, he easily sent all 5 gods off the stage. They had almost lost the desire to fight. The reason was simple. Even if the normal battle continued, Beerus and Goten from the 7th universe would stand until the end. There was no need for them to resist. "Ho! The Hakaishin from other universes have been eliminated. Zeno-sama, the final winners are Beerus and Goten from the 7th universe," Grand Priest said in surprise. The strength of the two of them directly eliminated 11 Hakaishin from other universes, which was incredible. After all, it was just a universe that ranked second to last in mortal comprehensive level. Goten was so awesome just now, even a Hakaishin is no longer his match. But I still haven't seen enough. Zeno looked excited, though still a little unsatisfied. The contest of Hakaishin was fast, but he could see clearly, especially Goten's previous offense. Every move was very clear, and he could see him knocking those gods out of the ring. He looked very excited. "Zeno-sama, if you watch it all at once, the upcoming Tournament of Power would not be exciting to watch. So let's stop here for today's exhibition match. With anticipation, the Tournament of Power will be more exciting," the Grand Priest said with a smile, looking at the still eager Zeno. After all, today was just an overview of the competition, and the specific rules of the Tournament of Power had not yet been formulated. And today's situation was very clear. All the Hakaishin combined, it was estimated that they could not beat Goten. This made him a little worried. Goten was so powerful that it would be unfair to let him compete with other universe mortals. The contest would lose its focus because, with his strength, he could likely sweep through several other universes. All right. If that's the case, then I'll listen to Daishin-kan." Zeno nodded helplessly. The tournament held between the whole multiverse was the final highlight. At this time, the faces of the gods in the other 11 universes were extremely gloomy and solemn. If the 7th universe participated in the Tournament of Power, there was no doubt that their universes would have no chance of winning. They feared they might be wiped out by Zeno. But this was beyond their control. The Grand Priest's voice addressed everyone. "Okay, everyone, your performance just now was very exciting. Zeno-sama enjoyed watching it. But this was just an ordinary match before the Tournament of Power, so no rewards will be given this time." Beerus was obviously unhappy. After finally defeating all the gods, there was not even a single reward. Though upset, he didn't dare voice his displeasure. If he did, He might find himself on the wrong end of the Grand Priest's punishment. TN. The Raws said if he showed his displeasure, maybe the Grand Priest would reward him with 2 big pussies. Dunno what the author was high on. As for the Tournament of Power, it will be held after 57.6 tax in the Null Realm. Due to the comprehensive mortal level values of the 1st universe, the 12th universe, the 5th universe, and the 8th universe being more than 7, they do not need to participate. The other 8 universes will each send 10 participants to compete. The official Tournament of Power will start in 5 days. Hakaishin and Kaioshin of the various universes, do you have any objections? The 4 universes exempt from participation looked relaxed. They were not particularly interested in the reward for winning, but were deeply concerned about the potential punishment for losing. Especially with Goten from the 7th universe participating, winning seemed like a dream for the other universes. Daishinkan-sama, what kind of rewards will the winners receive, and what punishment will the losers face? Hakaishin Quitela of the 4th universe dared to ask. This guy was always bold, even in front of Zeno and the Grand Priest. If you win the game, you will be rewarded with a chance to make a wish upon the Super Dragon Balls. If you lose... The Grand Priest's voice paused slightly. His eyes sharpened, and his tone became serious. That universe will be completely wiped out by Zeno-sama immediately. The announcement made all the Hakaishin and Kaioshin gasp in horror. Cold sweat broke out on their foreheads, and their bodies trembled uncontrollably. They had speculated about the possibility of being wiped out after losing, but hearing it confirmed by the Grand Priest made it hard to accept. It was just a contest, and losing would mean the complete destruction of their universe. This was unreasonable, but it was the decision of Zeno and the Grand Priest which no one could change. Are you kidding me? If that's the case, our universes have no chance at all. That guy from the 7th universe, who can be his opponent? The Hakaishin of the 2nd, 9th, and 10th universes were all crying. Their universes already had low mortal comprehensive levels, and now they had to deal with a monster that even Hakaishin couldn't handle. They had no hope at all, only the fate of being wiped out. It's over! It's over! It looks like it's all over this time. Whether it's Hit or Kale from our universe, it's absolutely impossible to be the opponent of Goten. Even all universes combined have no chance of winning, Champa muttered in despair. Despite intense training, the fighters from the 6th universe were nowhere near the level of Hakaishin. Even if they reached that level, they couldn't defeat Goten. In this case, there was no hope for the 6th universe, and they would likely be erased. Although I don't want to add insult to injury, this result is really good. Let those guys all die. Beerus grinned, thinking to himself. However, when he looked at his brother Champa, his eyes softened. As blood brothers, he naturally didn't want Champa to be erased. But this was the declaration of Zeno and the Grand Priest, and no one could change it. Daishinkan-sama, Zeno-sama, with all due respect, I think this contest is very unfair. We all saw the strength of Goten from the 7th universe today. He has the strength to fight against all 12 Hakaishin at the same time. If he is allowed to participate in the Tournament of Power, then all mortals in our universes cannot be his opponent. The ones that will be destroyed by then will definitely be our universes. Quitela spoke again. His words resonated with the other 7 Hakaishin, who quickly nodded in agreement. If Goten from the 7th universe participated, there would be no suspense in the Tournament of Power. It would be better to destroy their 7 universes now than to force them to fight a rigged match. Who? What everyone said seems to be true. The strength of the 7th universe's Goten has indeed surpassed that of the Hakaishin. If he is allowed to participate in the power competition, it will obviously lose its fairness, Grand Priest said thoughtfully. Since this is the case, Goten from the 7th universe doesn't have to participate in this competition. These words instantly turned Beerus's joy into cold dread. What? Are you Are you kidding me? You won't let Goten participate? How can this be? Goten is also a mortal from our universe. Beerus and Shin panicked immediately. If Goten was disqualified, it would be much harder for the 7th universe to secure the final victory. Daishinkan-sama, please reconsider. Although Goten's strength is indeed very strong, he is also a part of our 7th universe, a mortal of our universe. If he is disqualified, it will be too unfair to our universe. Beerus pleaded urgently. With only Trunks and Krillin participating, their chances of winning would be significantly reduced. There might be even more powerful mortals in other universes, making it truly unfair for them. Goten frowned slightly. He didn't expect that after showing his full strength, he would be disqualified from participation. This was an unforeseen complication. This has to be a joke. It is unfair that Goten is not allowed to participate. Trunks and Krillin also immediately protested. Daishinkan, I'd love to see Goten participate, Zeno chimed in, clearly wanting the competition to include Goten. Hey, this! Well, since Zeno-sama said so, let Goten be allowed to participate in the competition, Grand Priest nodded awkwardly. Disobeying Zeno was not an option. The sudden change made the Hakaishin of the 7 universes look mortified. Their fleeting hope vanished instantly. It's over! It's over! The dawn of hope they saw was instantly extinguished. Okay, everyone. This is the end of today's exhibition match. As for the specific details of the power tournament, I will tell all universes at the appropriate time. Now, everyone, please go back, Grand Priest concluded briefly. With a wave of his hand, all the gods and the mortals from their respective universes disappeared. When they reappeared, Goten and Beerus had returned to the Hakaishin realm. It's great. It's a good thing Goten wasn't disqualified. Otherwise, our 7th universe would be in serious danger this time, Beerus said, relieved. That's right, Beerus-sama, Whis agreed. Because as far as I know, there are mortals in other universes beyond Hakaishin. If Goten did not participate in the competition, it would be really difficult to win the final victory. The universe was vast, and there were many mortals with outstanding fighting talents. In some universes, there were indeed mortals whose combat power had surpassed that of some Hakaishin. Indeed, what a blessing, Trunks and Krillin echoed. Without Goten, they couldn't lead alone. By the way, Beerus-sama, how long until the time for the Tournament of Power that the Shinkan mentioned? Trunks asked, curious about the divine timing. Roughly equal to 40 Earth hours, so we don't have much time. During this period, in addition to finding all 10 contestants, you must also race against time to improve your strength, Beerus answered. Even if they were powerful, other universes were sure to have strong fighters. It was crucial to prepare thoroughly. TN. Guys, I need your suggestion. Should I stock up chapters and release them every weekend, minimum of 10, and if needed additional chapters to make sure that there is no immediate cliffhanger? Or do you need a daily release of 1 chapter? Sometimes 2 if I can make it. I will check this paragraph comments on Monday to finalize the decision. If more people at that time ask for the weekly release, I will follow that schedule. Grand Priest's previous actions had truly scared Beerus. He never knew when the Grand Priest might change his mind again. Therefore, it was essential to improve the strength of all participants immediately. Goten, our 7th universe participants should be enough now, right? Beerus asked. When they had contested against the 6th universe before, they had gathered 5 participants. With Goku and the others now resurrected, it made for 5 more people, rounding out to 10 participants. This was thanks to Goten's foresight. Otherwise, it would have been too late to find the other 5 participants now. Even if Goku and the others were resurrected at this late stage, their strength wouldn't match the required level. Yes, it's just right now, Goten confirmed. I just hope they don't change their mind halfway through. The change of mind he referred to was not from the participants of the seventh universe, but from Zeno and the Grand Priest. If they didn't allow him to participate, the seventh universe would be one person short and significantly weakened. That's good, Beerus nodded. We still have more than 40 hours left. If all the participants have been gathered, then everyone can continue to train. Although our universe has a great chance of winning this time, we must not relax. Beerus's serious tone was rare. Losing the game this time meant the seventh universe would disappear on the spot. As its Hakaishin, he couldn't let that happen. That's right. Then you guys should train with Whis first. I'm going to Earth. There are still some unresolved things that need to be taken care of, Goten said. With his current strength, even Jiren from the 11th universe was just a minor character. However, the real dangers were Grand Priest and Zeno. They could kill him instantly. This recent match with the gods made Goten stand out, which wasn't necessarily good. Grand Priest's actions suggested he might be wary of Goten's strength. Goten needed to consider everything carefully and prepare for the worst situations to survive in this dangerous world. Fine. If that's the case, then go. Anyway, with your current strength, even if you don't train, it is estimated that mortals in other universes cannot be your opponent, Beerus said confidently. Goten could easily defeat 5 Hakaishin, and there were no mortals in other universes who could match that level of power. A few minutes later, Whis took Beerus and the others to a mysterious place to start training. The harsh environment and extended time there would help them improve faster. After everyone left to train, Goten used Kai and arrived at a desolate planet on the edge of the Western Galaxy. He didn't join Whis and the others for training because he had his own plan, to use the Super Dragon Balls to make a wish. He had acquired the Super Dragon Balls earlier, but never had the time to use them. Now, with the Tournament of Power using the Super Dragon Balls as the final prize, he needed to make his wish before Zeno and the Grand Priest took them back. There were still 2 days before the competition, so he had to act quickly. Any cool-down period would be dealt with by Zeno and Grand Priest, given their immense power. After arriving on the remote planet in the Western Galaxy, Goten sensed no signs of biological activity. The surrounding planets were also desolate with very few living creatures. Even if some uncontrollable events destroyed several planets, it wouldn't cause significant damage. Having learned the language of the gods from Shin, Goten decided on the location. With a thought, 7 Super Dragon Balls flew out from his storage space and formed a circle around the planet, fitting together perfectly. 7 huge Super Dragon Balls emitted a yellow light, ready for his wish. Come forth, I dragon of the gods, and grant my wish, pretty Ipeas. Goten invoked the summoning spell in the language of the gods, as Whis had done before to summon Super Shenron. Instantly, the 7 brilliant yellow Super Dragon Balls burst into dazzling golden light, enveloping the entire Western Galaxy in a golden glow. A few seconds later, a golden light shot into the sky, transforming into a massive dragon. Super Shenron's entire body radiated a golden light, illuminating the vast universe that had undergone earth-shaking changes from its previous state. Standing before the core of Super Shenron, Goten knew he was within the body of this mighty dragon. The dragon's incomparably thick voice rang out. "The person who summoned me, please tell me your wish. I can help you realize any wish." "Super Shenron, please grant me Zeno's erasing power," Goten requested without hesitation. If he could gain Zeno's ability to erase, he wouldn't have to fear Zeno and the Grand Priest anymore. Sorry, but Dragon God Zalama-sama, who created me, doesn't have that ability. I can't make this wish come true. Please change it to another wish," Super Shenron responded with embarrassment. If the original Dragon God Zalama had that kind of power, he wouldn't have been easily sealed by Zeno. So, a wish beyond the scope of the Super Shenron Maker's strength was naturally impossible to realize. "So, can I gain the ability to resist Zeno's erasure?" Goten asked, knowing that such a wish was unlikely to come true. He wasn't surprised. This was the next best thing and immediately spoke again. It would be nice to gain the ability to block Zeno's power. At least in the future, there would be no risk of being wiped out anytime, anywhere. Ah, sorry, I can't do this kind of thing, Super Shenron said awkwardly, shaking his head again. He didn't expect the wishes made by the mortal in front of him to be so perverse. Even Zalama, the creator of the Super Shenron, never had such power. Naturally, he couldn't grant it either. You call this being able to grant any wish? Looks like I expected too much from you, Super Shenron, Goten said, a little speechlessly. If these wishes couldn't be fulfilled, then the role of Super Shenron seemed a bit small. He was also very curious why, in Dragon Ball Super, Super Shenron was able to revive all the 8 universes that Zeno wiped out after the power tournament. Why can't he give me the ability to resist Zeno's erasure now? Could it be that after the Tournament of Power, the wish to restore all the erased universes was not fulfilled by Super Shenron, but by Zeno and the Grand Priest themselves? Although this kind of speculation made Goten feel a little dubious, it was not impossible. Although the dragon god Zalama was very strong, he definitely had no ability to compete with Zeno. There was also absolutely no ability to restore what Zeno had erased. Then, as the Super Dragon Balls were created by the dragon god Zalama, they naturally didn't have such ability. You should make another wish, Super Shenron's voice sounded again. His words were heavy, obviously filled with some embarrassment. Since its birth, no one had ever made such a strange wish. Whether it was the Hakaishin or other gods, they never thought of rebelling against Zeno. Mortals today seem to have great ambitions, to make a wish to obtain Zeno's power. Well, if this is the case, then help me develop the potential of my body to the maximum. Completely unlock the restriction of the bloodline in my body, allowing me to become stronger without limit, Goten said, changing his wish. In fact, he initially wanted to wish for the angel's bloodline or the abilities that angels possessed, but he realized that such a wish was a bit too small. His strength would surpass the level of angels sooner or later, and that day was definitely not far away. If he made this wish, it would have no effect after his strength surpassed that of an angel, and an angel's upper limit was not very high, at least not higher than Zeno and the Grand Priest. Therefore, he decided to wish to develop all the potential in his body and let his bloodline grow without limit. In this way, he could definitely surpass angels in a short time. He might even become a true top god who could surpass Zeno and the Grand Priest someday. Okay, I can help you realize your wish, Super Shenron immediately agreed. There was an obvious sigh of relief in his voice. This guy finally chose a more normal wish. Then, a scarlet light suddenly flashed in his eyes. Okay, I have helped you realize your wish. All your potential has been released, and the upper limit of your bloodline has also been raised to the extreme. Farewell, until next time, Super Shenron said. After his voice fell, his body instantly turned into 7 golden rays of light and then disappeared, as if fleeing in a hurry. After Super Shenron developed his potential, Goten felt subtle changes in his body. It was as if there was an extra spring in his body. Power was like spring water, constantly emerging from his body. Every minute and every second, the power was constantly getting stronger. This speed was obviously much faster than before. Is this the super bloodline after the potential was developed by Super Shenron? It seems that this wish was not bad at all. Probably even better than gaining the ability to prevent Zeno's erasure, Goten said to himself happily, feeling the changes in his body and the continuous growth of his strength. Not only had he fully developed all the potential in his body, but the upper limit of his bloodline had also been raised to the extreme. In other words, his future achievements would definitely be very high. Saiyans had always been without limits, and as the legendary Super Saiyan, there would be no limit. After a while, the surroundings had fully returned to normal. The 7 Super Dragon Balls also disappeared without a trace. "Looks like it's time to go home," Goten muttered to himself, looking at the vast universe around him. Then, in an instant, his body flashed and disappeared from the West Galaxy. When he reappeared, he was already at Earth's Mount Paozu. After knocking on the door, he saw Chi-Chi and Videl cooking. "Goten is back!" Chi-Chi exclaimed happily. "It's just in time for dinner, so hurry up and join us." Videl thoughtfully moved a chair for him. "Well, thanks." Goten nodded quickly. Watching the two busy in the kitchen, he felt a rare sense of peace. Perhaps only at home could he forget about training, forget about powerful opponents, and enjoy this sense of security. "Mom, I have good news for you," Goten said with a smile, looking at the busy Chi-Chi. Goku and Gohan had been resurrected, and it was time to let Chi-Chi know the good news. After all, she missed Goku and Gohan more than anyone. "Ah, what good news?" Chi-Chi asked casually. "You won't tell me that you brought me another daughter-in-law from another place again. Let me tell you, I've already accepted Videl, and I won't accept others." These days, if it wasn't for Videl, who was always by her side, life would be rather boring. She had long regarded Videl as her daughter-in-law. Hearing this, Videl blushed instantly. Goten glanced at Videl. Videl had been waiting for so long. It seemed that after the Tournament of Power, it was time to give Videl a definite answer. It wasn't fair to keep her waiting indefinitely. "Of course not!" Goten shook his head. "Father and Gohan have been revived by Beerus. Now they are training on Beerus Planet, and then they will participate in the Tournament of Power held by the powerhouses all over the multiverse. After the Tournament of Power is over, we'll come home together." Although calling him father felt a little uncomfortable, Goten knew he had to say it in front of Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi's body froze suddenly, and the plate she was washing fell to the ground. She turned her head and asked excitedly, "Really? Is this true, Goten? Are your father and Gohan really resurrected?" For the past 8 years, she had dreamed about the resurrection of Goku and Gohan. But they had always refused, so she didn't think about using the Dragon Balls to make a wish to revive them. She didn't expect them to be revived now. Their family could finally reunite properly. "Yes, it's true. Father and Gohan have indeed been revived," Goten said. "In 2.5 days, I'll bring them back home." Seeing Chi-Chi's happy appearance, Goten was also very happy. Perhaps seeing Chi-Chi happy was the thing that made him happiest. "Well, good. Very good." Chi-Chi's excited eyes filled with tears. After 8 long years, their family could finally be reunited.